Seriously, Stephen, if you've not found this episode, you're on your own, mate. Hello and welcome to the Battle in Barrow and another D&D campaign waffle session with me just waffling on about our last game. We are still trying to find Stephen. This is going to be it, and spoilers, it is. Don't worry, this is not going to get drawn out any further. Our players now know that he's been taken to the ruins of Xitaqa, and they are on their way there now. Let's get on with it. Okay, so the players return to Loshad at the agreed time with the heads of the beast to prove they've done the deed. Loshad looks at Witchy Poo a bit weird, as if he can sense that she is changed. He lets them know where the location of the ruins are, and we write it on the map for them. But of course we have the werewolf issue problem. Now, the campaign's been going on so long, we don't get to play every week due to lifestyle issues, and of course they forgot, and I forgot, that Kuzma is a fairly high level cleric. She's level 4, same as the players, but more importantly she has a scroll of remove disease, which is in Becmi terms that was what would be needed to remove the curse of the werewolf. So I guess in 5e they would call it unique remove curse. Either way, whichever way you want to look at it, this lady's got it. But the players have forgotten this, so I sort of have them sort of remind them that she is a healer, and then they ask her, can she do anything about this? And at first she's like, I may have a scroll for that, dearie. And off she goes, comes back with the scroll. And yes, Witchy Poo is cured, so that is good. No need to go back into town. Of course, that as a scroll was a one-time use only, so hopefully they won't get attacked by any more werewolves. After a few days healing, they head off in search of the ruins and hopefully Stephen. It's not long before in the distance they can see a tower, which they make for, and the tower is on top of a sort of a ravine escarpment type place, and they have numerous choices. They can either climb up the sort of cliff face to the top and work their way to the tower that way, or they can work their way through the gullies, which as they get closer to, they can see the gullies are full of old ruins, and there's sort of worn out buildings, and they have effectively two choices. So at first Ranger decides to go up and over, and as he does, he goes up and over and gets pretty much close to the footsteps of the tower. But as he does, throughout the windows of the tower burst loads of giant bats. Now he has, due to this adventure in his backstory now that's grown over the due to playing this adventure, he has sort of PTSD to flapping things due to the amount of sturges and giant bat incidents he's sustained in his character. So with that, he nopes it out of there and returns to Witchy Poo, and they decide to go through the streets. They have sort of 3 roads they can go up. They choose the middle one, and as they sort of enter, they hear the sound of a patrol coming their way, and they hide quickly in amongst some of the empty buildings, and a patrol of yellow fang goblins pass them with some in the adventure it's baboons, but I don't like baboons. It doesn't seem to fit the sort of Eastern European look of the setting we're going for, so I substituted these with wild boars, giant wild boars. It seemed more fitting for the setting we're going for. I think the rock baboons I'd probably definitely keep in places like if I was doing Isle of Dread, but for this I changed them, so it's wild boars. And they hide, they manage to sort of stay hidden, and the patrol passes them by. They come up to pretty much a dead end, but there is a building in front of them, and inside the building they can hear the sound of lots more goblins. I decide not to go that way and try the middle path, which they come across a crossroads. To the left and right, these effectively again lead to dead ends, and they are stealthing it from building to building, to ruin, before they come across the steps of the tower. There are some ruined buildings in front of them. There is the bronze main double doors up at the top of a flight of stairs, but also to the right of them there is another singular door. But as they get near, and they notice the door is open, and all of a sudden crossbow bolts fly out. They've been spotted by something inside. So they take shelter, and there is a bit of a sort of tit for tat with a ranged missile going on. Inside here there are some hobgoblins. One of them, group hobgoblins of Vlak's retinue. It's a bit of a struggle, but they soon take him out. They poke their heads inside, and they can see a sort of triangular room with a corridor going off and another door and a jackal-headed statue. They decide not to go in here. They've had a bit of a time with jackal-headed statues before in the game, so they wander back to the other door and open it, and they can see that it's a library, but unfortunately not just an ordinary library. It's a library covered in cobwebs. There is a set of stairs at the other end of the room with a door at the top. So they decide, let's go in here and have a look. The library could yield some useful information as well, but they are waylaid by, of course, giant spiders. A bit of a battle takes place, nothing too bad for them, and there's only 2 spiders, which they quickly take out between all of them. They search through the scrolls. I think witchy pools hopefully looking for some new spells or the like, but they're written in whatever they are in Hartoken, which they don't that just doesn't want to waste a comprehend language spell on it, so she just leaves them. They do find one thing in English though. I say English, common I guess would be the proper term, but it is this. Now some people may recognise these words from a totally different adventure, and that's because this is an adventure hook, maybe to start Isle of Dread. It is a letter from a captain detailing his excursion to the Isle of Dread and what he saw there, as well as giving the players a map, which I've laminated so they can do a hex crawl through there maybe in future. This is a photocopy of the Goodman Games 5e conversion, so we have that, a nice adventure hook in the middle of another adventure. So yes, we carry on. The door itself leads into a hexagonal room, the lower floor of the tower, which obviously is the other door that the bronze door would have led to. And in here there is a room with 2 more jackal-headed statues, a fountain in the middle of the room, and 2 curtained off. There's some large ornate curtains on either side of some stairs leading up, but it's here that they hear a growl coming from behind one of the curtains, and an ice wolf busts out and starts attacking them. As they're doing that, Ranger tries to go up the stairs to get the higher ground, but behind the other curtain is Vlak the hobgoblin. There's a bit of a struggle. Ranger runs up the stairs hoping Vlak would follow him. He doesn't. Vlak charges off into the combat that is happening downstairs to protect his winter wolf pet. As he attacks, he sort of says such things like, "Gulfar will have your head, I'll bring your head to Gulfar," and things like that. And it's not long though before the players overwhelm him and take him and the winter wolf out. They go up the stairs to where the Rangers sort of already poked his head up, and they come to a dormitory with 8 beds here. There are iron manacles on the wall to represent that this is the Iron Ring hangout. There's not a lot going on here. There is one locker here that has the best looking bed, and they smash their way into it, and in there is a human sized suit of leather armour with a silver belt, some weapons, some standard weapons and some arrows. This actually is the armour of Stephen, who they're looking for. The next room they come to is seemingly empty. There's no walls, no nothing, just a set of stairs. But as they enter, as the door opens, they can hear voices, one threatening and the other familiar, the voice of Stephen. But then at the other end of the room, a door opens, and all of a sudden there's a yellow-robed figure just appears from nowhere, and then runs up the stairs that are there. Then, before the players can actually figure out what the heck is going on, they hear the familiar voice scream, "Look out!" as sort of Ranger is making his way in to where the voice is. And then he hears a sort of hoof stomps and a growl, snort type thing, before he gets whacked with an almighty force that does some damage. He can actually now smell and feel the breath in front of him, but he can't see anything, and he's bumbling around, touching walls, basically. And as he enters the room, he himself turns invisible. Basically, this room has spell turned on it, and everything in there is invisible. Witchy Poo tries to make her way up as well, again bumps into walls and what have you. And there is a combat, probably one of the most difficult combat I've known in this game, mainly because they're fighting a big nasty minotaur that's in an invisible room. It's invisible, but it has a magical axe that allows it to see, cast detect invisibility once per day. So this is really difficult, but really fun combat once more. Eventually they do manage to take it down, and the Ranger picks up the axe, realises its property, and can now see. They sort of find Stephen. The Ranger can see him now. It gives him his leather armour and what have you, but Stephen sort of says, "Don't waste any more time, go get Golfar before he escapes." So they come up to follow him up the stairs into another room. This room's slightly smaller, and on each wall there are a number of pictures and 2 statues in this room. As they enter the room, the statues immediately come to life and start attacking the players. And out of the pictures, one of the pictures, they recognise it because Witchy Poo casts it a lot. Magic Missile is sort of cast from one of the pictures. And so again, they've already been worn down by this Minotaur. They don't have any healing potions, and this battle takes place with some living statues and some so-and-so casting spells from behind the pictures, which have holes in that the spells can be cast through. They destroy the statues, and as they do, Golfar rips through one of the pictures and runs up the stairs. They give chase, and they hear an explosion as they're going up the stairs and feel the explosion coming from the room above. This room's even smaller, and there is a hole in the wall as they rush into the room, and as they do, they see 4 images of Golfar. He's cast some sort of spell to make copies of himself, which are all illusions. Ranger lets off an arrow, Witchy Poo lets off a spell at them, but neither of them are the correct person. They're the illusions, and Golfar does manage to escape. They search this room and they find a lot of treasure. Because he's in his haste, he's left a lot of treasure behind. So that's good. One of the things he leaves behind is a bag of holding. So the players get rewarded with that. I think they deserve it after this adventure, what they've gone through so far. But one of the important things is a magical silver needle and thread. They don't know this is magical yet. And also, they find a small ivory scroll case, which they open to reveal this scroll. And basically it talks about how a high priestess of Xitaqa commands Golfar to return. Bring the treasure of the temple to the people of the lowlands. The sacred tapestries and your silver needles show the path. And there it is, the eureka moment. The players suddenly got and now have a tapestry and a needle and thread. They know they can combine them together, and it will finally reveal what they thought all along, that it is a map. On the way back to the homestead, Stephen talks about how he was captured at Ilyanka and taken to the Wolf Skull lair before brought to here. At this tower, Golfar interrogated the prisoners, demanding to know where the golden tapestries were hidden. And it was this point even Stephen himself realised that it's a tapestry that's hanging in the hall back home, the weird geometric one. None of the other prisoners knew this though, and one by one they were taken away until only Stephen was left. He got interrogated, but would not reveal the location of the tapestry. But during this time, Stephen had worked out that the secret of the tapestry was what it was, that it would lead to some sort of massive area of treasure. They return to the homestead and there is a joyous feast that night. Everyone is happy, more so than the feast before that was a bit muted and a bit down. This one is full on happiness. Peter is overcome with joy to see his brother and drinks a bit too much, and by the end of the night gets taken to bed by his children. But during the feast, they also bring out the needle and the tapestry, put them together, and it reveals the tapestry starts weaving itself. The needle and thread starts weaving itself through the tapestry, revealing a map of the location. Stephen is sort of like an amateur archaeologist, gets overexcited about this. He recognises what it actually means. He recognises that this must be the ruins of Xitaqa. This must be threshold, even though at the time this tapestry was made, the threshold in the Karamikos sort of locations weren't here. Threshold itself is built on an old Xitacan settlement. The players, of course, remember that they went underneath and saw this temple, this pyramid temple itself, so they know this, they know that's where it is, and it sort of reveals that what they're looking for, or what they could be looking for, immense treasure, is in the Black Peak Mountains, just north of Threshold. Before Peter gets taken to bed, he sort of asks the players would they mind carrying on with their original arrangement to sell the horses. What he'll do though, it's a much better bargain. He'll pay him what he agreed to pay him, as well as half the sale price of the horses. The players agree to this, and the next day or a few days later they begin to make their way to Riflian, which is the original place they were hoping to do on this seemingly simple adventure. They avoid Kelvin because they want to remain away from where the Iron Ring could be. And they go to Mystara's ferry. She's still missing, unfortunately, and whilst they're there, her bear returns, still looking for her. They remain motionless and don't interfere, and the bear just sort of sniffs them for a bit, for a number of rounds, and then wanders off. They end up travelling towards the Gnome's Ferry, which is the next part of the journey to cross the river and get across to Riflian. But on the way there, Loshad is sighted in the distance, and he comes up to him and asks them for one more favour. He says there is a Iron Ring camp in the distance where not only humans have been taken as slaves, but horses have. And what he wants the players to go there and release the horses. At this time, they decide they do agree. They go there. They're in a very high-spirited time, I guess. They got Taras with them, who is an expert archer, and Stephen, but he's not that good, so they ask Stephen just to keep out of trouble. They go there, and there is indeed a lot of Iron Ring members there. They don't like the Iron Ring. In fact, they're now sort of becoming mortal enemies. So they form a plan and sneak up and surround the camp, each getting into position, and they get a surprise round of combat. I think Newt also goes in and uses a magic hand spell to release the horses being penned up. This causes immense confusion in the camp. Between that and the surprise attack, the players do really well and manage to take out all the Iron Ring members and release the human prisoners and horse prisoners alike. It was this time they also give up their war horses to fulfill their bargain made with Loshad, who he thanks them profusely, and they have now made a very powerful friend for the future. They make their way now, returning back to their destination to go to the Gnome's Ferry. Along the way though, they are doing a bit of cartography, making sort of spotting other places on the map. They see a barrow, they see the old ruins of Loom, in the distance they say Gildor's Fort, so these are also other places they can explore and have adventures in if they so wish. Once they get to the Gnome's Ferry, they spend the night there, and they have their horses still, their white horses they still have. That wasn't part of the Loshad bargain. I think it was meant to be, but I managed to make a mistake there when I've set it up, so I wasn't going to push that when I originally run this last week. So they still have their white horses, they pay for them for the night, and they have a nice meal there. And as they have a nice meal, they're trying to have a nice meal in this ferry house, in walk 2 Iron Ring members, Axel and a couple of just goons. They recognise the players, and the players recognise them as Iron Ring, but there is nothing, no untoward business here. It's no fight breaks out, luckily, but what happens is the Ranger passes an epic stealth check and pickpockets Axel during the night of basically all the wealth he has, which is gems, which he was going to pay for the ferry with, I guess, the next day. We don't know how that goes because the players leave early in the morning, just safe in the knowledge they've made a bit of profit and caused a bit of trouble to some Iron Ring members. They then effectively make their way to Riflian. On the way there, they encounter a merchant caravan with a massive armed guard, where Akitos, the merchant, tries to buy the horses off the players. They don't sell them. He talks about a dark woman, I guess that means dark robed woman, that has also been in the area and seemed rather menacing. But apart from that, the players refuse to sell the horses to him and carry on to and finally make it to Riflian. The elves of Riflian are overjoyed at seeing the players, and some of them want to come out and buy the horses. The players decide to sell one horse to one of them just to see what price they get, and it's for 150 gold. The elves also talk about a dark lady that has been visiting the village and seems quite menacing. The players make their way to the trader, to Prestel, the trader, where they fulfill the bargain on Peter and Stephen's behalf and sell the horses. Taras at this point takes his share of the money, thanks the players, and departs at this point. Stephen says he's going to make his way up to Threshold, maybe to do a bit more research on the Lost Valley and what treasures may be there, and for the players to meet him there at some point in the future. Hopefully soon, because he still thinks that Golfar will try to get the tapestry and try and find this Lost Valley. So it is this point that we ended the session, and it's gone really well. I've really enjoyed this one. I've really enjoyed the past few sessions. The story sort of managed to slowly unfold. It sort of took its time, but it's unfolding now, which is great. But that's it for this video, guys. Until the next waffle session, stay safe and take care.